Cashflow Diary podcast, episode 414.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you're here today because we are going to talk about something that I believe if you absolutely embrace this concept, if you are brave enough to go out there and actually execute what we're going to talk about today, you will see a dramatic, dare I say drastic, and definitely positive impact on your life, your business, your health, and many other things that may have been plaguing you for a long time. You're like, what on earth could this one thing be? I know. We're going to talk about it, though. And I have with me today someone who's actually been here before, but it's been a while. Some could say too long, but here's what I will say. I will say that you are in for a treat because he's been doing this business thing for a really long time. Now, why is that important? That means he's got wisdom. That means he is ready to deliver. That means he's doing this because he wants to, not because he has to. So that means you and I need to make sure that we're ready to receive the greatness that is known as Mr. Jim Palmer. Now, you may know him from the Dream Business Academy or Dream Business Coach. They're actually in their 7th one is coming up soon. What I'm really excited about is that when someone who's been there and has done business comes here, they're coming because they have so much wisdom to share to accelerate your growth as well as mine. So today, I'm going to ask you to take some notes, put on a smile, get ready to change, and make some decisions with Jim Palmer. Jim, you there?
I am, Jay. How are you? Man, your introductions are awesome. I love the way you start your show. You make me smile.
Well, good. Then I'm doing something right at the moment. Now, what I want to do is I've got to ask you the same question I ask everybody at the beginning of the show. So are you ready?
I am.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. So, you know, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, even Batman, Lego Batman. We'll go there. And I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Obviously, you're an entrepreneur. And I think when you think about it as entrepreneurs, we go around, we save people using our products and services, our special skill sets, etc. But we also have a beginning. There was a time in Spider-Man's life, all he was doing was a college student taking photos. So my question to you is, before all of the books that you've done, before all of the newsletters, before all Dream Business Academy, the Dream Business Coaching and Mastermind, before all of the TV and news appearances that you have done, what we want to know is, who is Jim Palmer?
Jim Palmer was, first and foremost, a scared little boy who barely got out of school because he was too tired to talk in front of people.
That makes us feel normal. This is good.
You know, in all seriousness, I almost didn't get out of high school because my fear of public speaking was so intense. I couldn't read a chapter out of I remember this history class. They basically went up and down the rows and you had to read a paragraph or a chapter. And when I knew my time was coming, I'd be sick that day and hope that they'd go by. And, you know, today I get in front of hundreds of people and I can talk on anything, mostly business, obviously. But, you know, those are there are things that are in our life that, you know, we choose to forget and not talk about. But I write about them. I talk about them because everybody has those limiting beliefs and what I call demons. And if you're going to achieve anything that's other than just average, and you need to kick those demons to the curb.
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of us that are here right now are wanting to achieve things other than average. So I'm just kind of curious, take us back in history for a little bit, because I often have told people that, look, I'm naturally introverted, naturally shy. Public speaking was not something that was on my list either. Yet now I make a living talking, and you've obviously made that transformation. So walk us through that process. How do you go from, scared kid barely getting out of high school to author of 6 books, someone who's an entrepreneur, speaker, and a coach, helping other people deal with these very same things?
Because I was very blessed, Jay, to have somebody in my life. I was actually 6 or 7 years into my business, and in 6 or 7 years, I was doing multiple 6 figures. But it wasn't a great business because I was working like a dog, and there was just, my business was me. I really had a job. I just happened to own the company, like a lot of small business owners. Right. And when I started, I really wanted to grow in a significant way. I was being asked to share some of my strategies for creating multiple streams of revenue with other people. That meant starting a coaching program. When my first year, I had, I think, 6 or 7 people in my coaching program at $97 a month. And I really wanted to grow. And I was looking at other people who were doing it really well. And, the big impetus, so the long-winded answer I'm giving you has a lot of little nuggets in it. But number one, when you are a business owner and you choose not to do something that you don't want to do, because after all, I'm the boss, and if I want to have my business and I want it because I want to be free to do whatever I want when I want, then you don't have to do these things. So when people were calling me up and saying, "Hey, you're the newsletter guru. Can you come give a talk to our group about newsletter marketing?" Really appreciate the opportunity. I'm really busy. In fact, I'm traveling that week. I would never say I'm afraid of public speaking. I would do it. And Jay, nobody. I was not going to get called down the hall into the boss's office and chewed out for not doing it, because doggone it, I was my boss. But I'll tell you something. At that moment, my girls were 15 or 16 years old. I have twin girls, and I knew they wanted to go to college. And the cash flow, the money that my business was actually generating, I was not going to be able to be the father that I wanted to be and actually help them with their schooling. And so my saying no to writing a book and being afraid to criticize because I, can't write correctly, or doing videos because I look stupid, or being a public speaker, all those things that I didn't want to do suddenly mattered, because people who were doing what I wanted to do in a very successful way were doing those things. And so the first thing I want to tell you, if you're struggling with something, you have to personalize your inaction. And so when you can justify that it's okay not doing it in your own head, suddenly my inability to step up and man up was going to cost my girls a lot of money, because I wouldn't grow my business the way I knew it should be growing. And so I personalized and internalized how much, and it's called having a big why. And the second thing I did when I decided to recognize my big why, I invested in a mentoring program with somebody, and that person did me the greatest favor. I call it my most embarrassing moment in my entrepreneurial journey, Jay. And I was in this high-level mastermind program, and I swore to you, I thought I was the dumbest one in the group. I'm sure a lot of people probably have that own talk in their head, right? I say, oh my God, I hope they don't realize I'm just this or I'm just that. But anyway, this guy he actually had a multi-million-dollar coaching business. So it's like, man, I'd like to have that. He took me aside, and the one saving grace is he didn't do it in front of everybody. So he took me aside on a break, and I don't think he put his arm around me, but it was kind of that moment where he's leaning in close. He goes, "Jim, let me ask you a question. I know you want to really grow and have a big coaching business, and like some of the people in this room that you emulate, and let me ask you a question. How is it that you think you're entitled to have that same level of success, yet you're not willing to do the things that all these other people have done to grow their business? How does that work, Jim? Can you explain that to me?"
Oh, wow. Awesome. What'd you say?
Well, first of all, I felt my ears turn so red I thought they would melt glaciers, because I felt horribly embarrassed and called out. And I said, there's no good answer to that question. That's what I remember, and I tried to block it. But when I was flying home, this was in California. I live on the East Coast. When I was flying home, I kept replaying that moment, and the more I did, the more, I hope I can say this, pissed off I got at myself, right?
Right.
And I'm saying, never again am I going to be made to feel like a blankety blank blank blank. And I've got to fix this. Now, there are several things that I did. I mean, I did everything. I took the Dale Carnegie course. There's a lot of things I did, but I didn't just do one thing to see if it worked. I did like about a half a dozen things. I hypnosis. I mean, I did everything because doggone it, I was going to be a success, and I'm going to pay for my girls' education. I'll help pay for their weddings and all this and that. But it meant me stepping up and doing what's required to grow a successful business and rise above average.
Yeah. Now, well, you're speaking about something that I know a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to right now. There's a number of people who, for lack of a better way of putting it, let's just call that playing small. And we give ourselves reasons why, well, it's okay to play small. I'm playing bigger than the guy sitting next to me, but it's not our best. Now, my question to you becomes, there's always this moment where you're like, okay, I'll play big, but I'll play big today. And because you're feeling good. I mean, as they're listening to you and I, they're probably feeling good. They'll be able to I'm going to play big. But 3 weeks from now, they start finding themselves playing small again. How on earth did you maintain that from that one question, that one time so many years ago, maintain the intensity required to keep playing big and keep pushing yourself?
Well, first of all, I tasted freedom as I started to grow, and there's nothing like freedom that significant cash flow will produce. And I was able to make choices and not worry about bill paying Friday. And I got to a point where I was able to completely pay off all my debt, because you can't save your way out of debt. You got to grow your way out of debt. All these things started happening. And you know what? I wanted more. The other thing is, I did this post on Facebook today. It was about being perfect. Good is good enough. And I said, here's an interesting fact. Nobody really ever actually died from embarrassment. So stop waiting to be perfect.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I just started doing, and the more and you know what? The thing is, my first big talk was in front of about 120 people, all high-level entrepreneurs. When I got invited to that talk, it was about it was 90 days out. It wasn't like come next week. And I accepted it. Jay, I about peed and pooped my pants when I said yes, because I thought I'm going to just completely bomb and embarrass myself. But for 90 days, I did a lot of different stuff. I read some of it, what things I did in the book Decide, but I also practiced for 90 days giving that talk. I visualized. In fact, I knew where the meeting was going to be. I got pictures of the place online so I could visualize me being in that room. I visualized what the stage looked like. I did every single thing you could imagine. And when I did that event,
yes,
I not only was not nervous, I felt like I'd done it before, because I did it about 180 times before I actually delivered it.
Right.
And you know what? I friggin' loved it.
Yeah.
People were raising their hands, asking questions, come up to me. That was a great talk. And I'm like, what the hell was I ever afraid of?
Right.
For like 48 years, I've been like petrified. And now it turns out I'm a damn good speaker. And it's fun.
Well, okay. You're hitting on something that I myself have experienced. I didn't know that I would like doing a podcast and teaching other people. I didn't know that. It wasn't ever like, have you ever asked me before? It was all things that I feel like I was either pulled or pushed in that direction, like similar, very similar, like, darn it, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. But my question is, how many, I've just, you've been exposed to a lot of entrepreneurs. So how many entrepreneurs do you think are out there right now feeling that tug in somewhere with the whole list of should do's that they're not doing, that they're likely going to be surprised? How often does that happen for the people that you work with? They go, oh my God, I actually like this.
At least 90%. And you know how I know that is because we always talk about the top 10% or top 5% or the top 1% in any industry, group, niche, country, whatever. There's the top 1%. You only get to be the top 1%, excluding the minuscule number of people that just inherit everything. I'm talking about the people who create massive success for themselves. The people in the top 1% are there because they're willing to do things that every other person is not willing to do, so they can have the life that other people have. Now, I've got a real nugget that I'd love to share with you. It's
By
an
all means.
actionable step that you can get over yourself, because a lot of this stems from fear, and if you want to call it something else, the just being perfect is a business killer. It just kills momentum. So you want to make a decision to be judged. You choose that you're going to be judged on the quality of the content and the information that you are providing or delivering in the case of a paying client, and not the imperfect way in which you provide it. So I've been doing videos for 6 years, weekly videos for 6 years. I've written 6 books. My first book took 18 months because I wanted that thing to be perfect, which it wasn't. I wrote my last 2 books in 60 days. And really the big reason I've gotten better at writing, but the reason I launched them in 60 days is I know they're imperfect. I'm an imperfect writer. As I say, I didn't go to college for writing or journalism, none of that. But you know what? The content in that book is friggin' awesome. And far be it from me to hold back and not share that. Now, I got to tell you, I do hire editors, so I'm being somewhat silly here, but you don't have to hire a team of editors, because after you launch your book, however many people read that book, they are your editors, and they're going to happily let you know, Hey, Jim, there's a mistake on page 97. I think you meant S-O-N and not S-U-N. I thought you'd like to know,
Yes.
And you can feel the knife a little bit. Sometimes they're being nasty, but it's a big deal. And you know how I learned that, Jay?
How?
So on my first book, when I say 18 months, it took me a year to write. It took me 6 months to get the courage to pull the trigger, because doggone it, my name's on it.
Yeah.
And so
there's no hiding. There's no hiding at that point.
There's no hiding.
It's me. They're going to review me. Yes. Keep going. I love it.
And so anyway, my first book, I think I sold like 500 in about 3 weeks, which I thought was pretty good. And about a month into it, I get an email from somebody, and I'll just paraphrase because it obviously burned an impression in my brain. He said, "Hey, Jim, I thought you'd like to know on page 117, paragraph 3, you have a dangling participle."
No.
Now, Jay, that was 2008, I think. And so I don't know what the math is. It's like 10 years ago, 8 years ago. No, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Thank you for me being math challenged. I must have skipped math class also. But, so here's what goes on in my head. That little voice we all have. I said, holy crap. Oh, my God. I printed like 2,000 books. Oh, what am I going to do? People are going to think I'm a complete boob. Then I said to myself, what the hell's a dangling participle? I have no idea what that is, right? And then I just went all through. It was almost like the 5 stages of grief or whatever,
right.
Denial and whatever that is. And so the next thing I said, I hit reply and I said, hey, Tom, whatever. I said, thanks for letting me know. I will bring that to the attention of my editors, which I don't even know if I had an editor in my first book, but want to look like I had a team. I'll bring that to the attention of my editors for the next printing. And something made me just go, by the way, how did you like the book? Tom then wrote back and said, loved it. I've been wondering what kind of content to use. How do you print them? How do you fold them? Oh, there's a ton of information, a really, really excellent book. And so Jay, I lean back in my chair, I cross my arms and I go, huh. And what I deduced from that was, let me get this straight. My imperfect book, because it does contain a dangling participle, brought immense value to Tom. And so my imperfect book is better than my perfect book, which I have yet to write and sitting in my thing because I'm afraid to launch it. So listen, there's not a single person on the planet that's perfect. Nobody's perfect. All right. And so you just have to get over yourself and share the value and the knowledge, the information and wisdom that you have, whether it's videos or podcasting, as a guest or as a host, whether you're writing books, whatever it is, share your information because it will serve others, and just be prepared that you're not perfect and it's okay.
It is. I'm so glad you said that because I went through that same thing. You have no idea how long the podcast, that even though we're, hundreds of episodes now, but those first like 10 sat recorded and done for at least 6 months. The book took forever because I was like, I couldn't handle the idea of someone giving a review on the book that I would not be able to stomach. But I had a very similar experience to what you're talking about, is people going, oh, so it didn't matter. to them, because at least they had the quality content. And I've since learned to just say imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. And that's really what it comes down to. But behind all of that, you've used this word a couple of times, and it's your newest book, so we got to talk about deciding. I mean, there's a point at which you got to draw that proverbial line in the sand. I am no longer going back that way. But what I really want to know is, what on earth makes you call Decide your most important book yet? Hey guys, thanks for listening as always, and I'm glad that you continue to support with each and every download and subscription and share. One of the things that I want to ask you, though, is where are you listening to me from right now? I know some of you, maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're washing dishes, maybe you're walking that dog, and some of you are actually in a vehicle driving right now. One of the fun things that you can do, get some of your time back, is begin to living a car-free existence. But even then, it can be a little complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to go over to Zipcar. Go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary. It's a way that I am able to still go get a car just for a few hours, very, very simply, so that if I have a lot of errands to run and sheets to drop off and running to the short-term rentals, or if I just want to go for a long trip up to LA and back, etc., I can rent a car for a very, very short period of time. And the cool part is I don't even have to pay for any gas. Again, go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary.
Okay, because when I wrote my fifth book, Stop Waiting for It to Get Easier, I had Kevin Harrington from the Shark Tank write the foreword. I thought, man, this is nirvana. I can't get better than this. I'm done. 5 books. It's a pretty big accomplishment. I'm done writing books. It's a pain in the ass. And then I started doing my live events, and there was a section or a module that I teach on the second day. It's called Success, Money, and Mindset. And I walk people through what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly, from when I started my business to the highest point. I had $140,000 of credit card debt. I mean, life struggling. And I share all the things that were going on, how I got over it, what I did, because people go through stuff and everybody puts on this big success facade. And I wanted people to know, yes, I have achieved success. And say the last 4 or 5 years have been really great, but it wasn't always that way. And when I shared it the first time, it took about a half an hour. And I literally looked out, Jay, and saw a couple people with tears in their eyes. And when I took a break, somebody came up to me and said, I'm where you were right now. Thank you for sharing that. It gave me what I need to know to keep on keeping on. And so I keep doing that same module, except now I take almost an hour because I'm sharing even more hideous, embarrassing stuff, because I want to inspire people that you're no different. I'm no different. We're all a wreck. We're all a mess. But if we got something good to share, then let's go out and share it and build a business. So but anyway, about the second or third event, somebody goes, Jim, this stuff is too important to just share it with the people who come to your event, which is about 50 people. I kind of keep it small because you need to write another book. I said, I'm not going to write another book. And then it just, that nagging feeling kept getting. And so I wrote this book. It was the hardest book I wrote because I felt like I was on the therapist's couch, because I share so much. The imposter syndrome, being able to delegate, the voice of what I call head trash, limiting beliefs, your horrible thoughts that you have about money. Can I really charge $500 an hour? Am I really? Attorneys don't even get that. What makes me? There's so much stuff we have to get over, and so I share a lot of that. And I actually brought in my own personal mindset coach, and Melanie Strick is all over this book. And I'll tell you this. I actually don't know numbers, and I actually don't know, because there's Kindle books. I have no idea how many books I've sold. But the emails that I generated from Decide, there was a lot of variations of this, but this is one I remember. It says, Jim, I know, and I didn't know this person, I know you wrote this book for me. I hate you, but thank you. Because as they were reading it, I'm calling them out as I call out myself, and I give some actionable stuff how to get over it.
That's that's me. I hate you, but thank you.
Yep.
But thank you. That's a lot. I like that a lot. Now, you spoke about a couple of things that I think some people may not know what they're like, they might not have heard of imposter syndrome before. Could you elaborate on what some of those things are? Because they may actually be experiencing it and not even aware of it.
Well, everybody does. Again, this is, I'm not some unique basket case. Everybody has this stuff.
Agreed.
And, what happens, we know ourselves because we live in our head constantly. And so I had a very, very good career until I was 41 and lost my job, went through a year and a half of unemployment. I went through cancer. I rebounded, started building a business. Took me a year to get my first client. For, first 3 years, I barely, I made a, poverty type of living. And then I started doing some things. That's super condensed version. But as you put yourself out there, as you meet people at networking and your marketing stuff, you're putting yourself out there as, what the term is, fake it till you make it. So you hear that kind of stuff, right? But what you're really afraid of is that people are going to find out I'm really just a guy with a used Dell computer sitting in the corner of his dining room table, right? I'm my business card, and by the way, I opted for the glossy finish. It says founder, and I'm the founder and president of my own corporation. I think my first company name was Dynamic Communication, and so I'm the president, but I'm just a guy with a 3-year-old computer at my dining room table, and I actually sitting on a dining room chair. I don't have a desk chair. All this stuff, and just funny story aside, just popped into my head. There's that voice. But yes. I remember saying to my wife, I need to get a real desk chair. And by the way, we need to put doors on here because when the kids come home from school, it's noisy. She goes, what you really need are some paying clients. Then we can talk about putting doors on here. Anyway, so
nice.
When I started my business, Jay, in 2001, it was not as commonplace as it is today, although it was starting to change. But here I was with a home-based office, and when I would always go to either a prospective client's office, or I'd meet them for lunch or something, because I obviously am not going to have them to my house, and so the for me, the imposter syndrome was they're going to find out I'm just a guy at a dining room table, right? So I always talked about I've been writing newsletters since I was 21. True fact. I never lied, but I never said, boy, I just started my business officially 3 months ago. And,
right.
If you're my paying client, I might actually buy a desk at Staples. I never said that. But, so the imposter syndrome, and by the way, whether you have $1 million business or a $50,000 a year business, you have the imposter syndrome. When I started doing pretty well, and I remember going to that group, and by any stretch, if you look at where my income was compared to a lot of people, I was average or above average, but I felt like such an imposter being in that room with other people who were killing it.
Right.
And so that's the imposter syndrome. It's the fear of being found out.
And the thing that I like about what you just shared is we all have it. And I don't want people to think, because I know a number of people who are listening, especially those of you who are in real estate and trying to raise capital for the first time, you come to me and you say all the time, but Jay, the investors are looking for something other than me, is basically the gist of what you're saying. It's not me. I'm not that person, and I don't even know what that person is anymore. But we have this vision of something that's greater than us, that we're not, and that's what we think they're going to find out. So we compensate for it in various different ways, but I think this is important. Now,
Can I expand that real quick?
By all means.
I remember when I was growing up, let's say of course I was a juvenile 18-year-old or whatever, but then in my 20s, I'm still like juvenile. I'm like, at some point, I'm probably going to mature to be somewhat like my dad. And I'm in my 40s. But my wife's favorite expression is, how old are you? Right?
Nice.
I'm wrestling whether to say this or not. I'm just going to say it because I'm an imperfect person. We were literally in Annapolis. I hate to say this. So there's a sign. I get out of the car and I'm walking over to take a picture of something. And there was a word on a sign. It just could have had two meanings. I look back to her and point to it and just smile. And then I took my picture. I got back in the car. She goes, how old are you? I can't say it because it'd be just too embarrassing. I'm already embarrassing myself enough. But my point is, I always thought when I get to be a certain age, or I always thought when I get to reach a certain level, I was a VP of marketing when I was 40 before I lost I was still an immature guy who was laughing at Happy Gilmore and all these, silly things.
Right.
And I think I'm still the same person. And one of my friends, I've been friend for 30 years. On one of my birthdays, he gave me a little sign. You've probably seen it in the gift shop. He says, you can only be young once, but you can be immature forever. And I think that has some business meaning too, because even as you get to go and be very successful, you're still the same person. There's not this metamorphosis. Well, some people probably, go and pretend they're somebody very, very special, and I only drive Beamers, and I only go to the club, and I don't know. I'm kind of poking fun and probably causing somebody some agita right now, but for the most part, we are the same person all through our life. And I don't know. I forget why I started telling you that.
Well, what's funny is that I've actually got some. We did a couple years back. We did some testimonials that recorded from some of our customers, and two of them specifically said, when you meet Jay, he's just a normal guy that wears jeans and tennis shoes. And the other guy was like, yeah, he's shy like me. This is weird. That doesn't make sense. And yes, you're right. It's a normal person. We may do abnormal things. We may have trained ourselves to be able to perform a certain way, but you're still that same guy laughing at fart jokes occasionally.
I know.
If need be.
Oh, what's so funny thing? So we moved out of our house in December. We sold our house of 28 years, furniture's in storage. We bought a 50-foot yacht. My wife and I move aboard in a month. We're going to live and work on this boat, travel up and down the East Coast. That's our big.
Awesome.
I can't call it a midlife thing because I don't plan to live to be 116. But
right.
But this is going to be our big adventure as empty nesters. Well, in cleaning this house of 28 years, it's funny you mentioned that. I found a fart machine. It was remote control. You bury it under the pillow wherever somebody's sitting. You push the button. It's amazing. And I gave it to my grandson, and he thinks that's the funniest thing. And I think my wife made an observation. Goes, Nathan laughs just like you do. I think he's 3.
Exactly. You're like, so you're saying I'm 3? No.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
It's the same thing. But the point here, though, is that even though all of that's inside, there's still this point at which you decide something different. You become something different. So when it comes down to it, if I had to ask you, because I'm curious, what would you give as a definition of a decision?
So a decision is a yes or no. A decision is not maybe. So I was doing, as you know, I do about 100 interviews like this a year. And at one point, a lot of people one of the reasons I love your show, Jay, is it's so conversational. You and I'm having a great time here. Sometimes you get on a show, what's the last 3 books you read? What's your favorite quote? And it's like, good Lord, And so somebody goes, okay, what's the one? And I thought it was going to be, what's the one thing you would do to market? And he says, what's the one word that most describes the difference between ordinary entrepreneurs and highly successful entrepreneurs? As a new question I'd never been asked. And I just said, decide. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, highly successful people have the ability to assess a situation, a question, a challenge, or an opportunity. However, they weigh the pros and cons in their head, and they quickly make a decision and move forward. Yes is a decision, and no is a decision, but they move forward. And anything short of that, I think about it, back burner it, running up the flagpole, see who salutes. Anything short of that sends you to a place I call Squishyville, because that's where opportunity goes to die. You see, really fast-growing businesses thrive on momentum. And when you have quick decisions, that increases momentum. Indecision is the opposite. Indecision is a momentum killer. That's how I named the book.
Did you say Squishyville? I just want to make sure that was accurate.
Yeah, I made up a term. It's called Squishyville.
Well, it's probably another place where superheroes live. I was just kind of curious. I was just like, Squishyville. All right.
Well, the superheroes in Squishyville, they're wearing a diaper and a cape, and that's about it. I don't know. There's no superheroes in Squishyville.
Totally understood. Now, when it comes down to it, a lot of people, because I know someone who's listening right now, they said, well, Jim, you don't understand. I need to take my time because I just don't want to. I can't just make a decision like that about, getting into business or moving forward with this particular vendor, or do I want to sell this particular product or whatnot. What would you say to the person who you and I both know said that in their head right now?
Yep. Well, first of all, I didn't buy my house overnight or the same day. I didn't buy my boat. We looked for the right boat for 3 months. But I don't belabor where I'm going to have dinner. I don't belabor, what kind of this, that, or the other thing, or what kind of spatula I need for my grill. I mean, there's a whole range of different decisions. But I'll tell you this: if somebody on my team, and so we just got over one of my events, but we do a lot of Facebook marketing, and so, hey Jim, I found a lookalike group, blah 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 blah. I said, good. Let's put $500 a week toward that and go try it. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to ask anybody, what do you think about this? And if I blow $500, I blow it. If I get another person that come to my event, well, then it's probably paid off. So, deciding. I think you have a decision muscle, and just like your biceps or anything, whatever muscle you work at and work out, it becomes stronger. And when you have the ability to make decisions, you get more confident and more comfortable making decisions. And will every decision be right? No, but a growing, thriving business can absorb an occasional gaffe or wrong decision. And by the way, not every decision is life-killing or business-threatening. You can certainly adjust and course correct as you move, but indecision, you have to decide. And one of the ways I do that, by the way, if I was on stage selling something, whether I used to promote No Hassle newsletters, I would actually do what I call a fast action bonus, because I'm sure there's people, let me think about it. And I said, I'm going to help you decide, because a lot of people think, in reality, I should do this. I'm going to make it so worth your while. I'm going to give you a discount. I'm going to give you some bonuses. I'm just going to give you this whole package, but I'm only going to do it for the first 10 people, because, here's the deal. If I can help you decide, I am so convinced this is going to work amazingly well in your business. You're going to thank me for pushing you over the edge. I'm going to obviously have my business continue to grow. We're both going to be happy. But the fact is, you need help making a decision. So here I go. And I would pretty much sell like that. Right. And next thing you know, 10 people are running to the back of the room to turn in their order form. People need a push. And, the people, well, that's kind of pushy. Well, you may think it's pushy, but I say this. If you truly believe with every fiber of your being, your heart, mind, and soul, that what you do, the value you provide, the offer that you have is beneficial, you're going to deliver more value than you're going to receive in compensation, then shame on you for not trying harder to improve people's lives. And oh, by the way, be paid handsomely for it.
Indeed, 100%. Now, I'm going to take this next one in a completely different direction, because there's this concept out there that I've seen, because when you bring up the idea of a decision being a muscle, it reminds me that occasionally my muscles, they get fatigued. There's only so much weight that I can lift in any given day. And I don't know about you, but it does feel like there's only a certain number of decisions. There comes a point in my day where I'm like, you know what, I'm done. And we're going to have to go to sleep or start over or something tomorrow, because I can't make any more decisions today. What would you say to that concept of decision fatigue, and how one can figure out, how many decisions can you really make a day? Or better yet, how can we eliminate some of the needless decisions that we do make every day?
Wow. Talk about a loaded question. So how can we eliminate getting all the decisions thrown at us? First of all, you hire and train right. But the third thing, this is where a lot of people fall down, is then you empower your team to make decisions for you. Like, when my person doing my Facebook ads, she knows she has a lot of authority to do this, to tweak the ad. I don't need to see the ads. You're the expert, not me. Just do it. You know what my end goal is. I want to put 50 people in a room. Go do it for me. I know she's good, and I empower her to make decisions. If she wants to try something else in addition to the budget that I've given her, she'll bring that to me. I'll say, yeah, let's do that. Or, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm, so that's a quick decision. But, I do all of my coaching calls and interviews Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I don't take any calls Monday and Friday. And I'll tell you, by the end of either Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I am nearly comatose and brain dead, because I bring it, man. I think I'm bringing it on your show. And I literally, and so my wife, Stephanie, who does some work for me in the business, she may say, hey, I think we ought to update your one sheet, or we ought to do this, that, and another thing. I say, okay, either do it, or if you need my opinion, let's look at it in the morning. when you deal, especially with problems, or if there was a problem client, or if there was a problem, I would say, you know what? If I can't make the decision quickly, I'll say, let's revisit it in the morning. Things always look different in the morning. I mean, I sleep about 6 hours, but everybody, well, if you get a good 8 hour sleep, I have no idea what that feels like. But for me, 6, and it's just because I've been an entrepreneur for so long, I can function on pretty well on 6 hours. But the clarity that I get when I wake up is unbelievable. And here it was, 6-8 hours ago, when I could barely decide, do I want peanut butter and jelly or just peanut butter? There's simple decisions that you can't make. And the next thing you know, yes, peanut butter and jelly is what I'm at for lunch, and for the next 5 days, blah 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 blah. So you get to know yourself. Now, if you're going to, the only thing where it's going to be a hang up or a problem is if it's a lost opportunity. Like if somebody said, I know you're tired, but if we don't make this call by 9 o'clock tonight, we're going to lose it. And then you're either going to make your decision or you're not. And by the way, no's okay. If it's a big rear end decision and it's too much on the line, then I will say no, because there'll be other opportunities. But you just, and by the way, that's understanding the parameters and the facts. If something's a short fuse and I don't feel comfortable, I will often say no, because that is a decision. Mm-hmm. But I won't belabor it, and I'll just move on.
Yeah. It's just, I know for myself, the more disciplined I've become, either in my decision making or how I spend my time, it's like sometimes the easier things get, but there comes that point in my day where I'm just like, you know what? I am done for today. I know there's more hours, but I'm done. I can't, we'll have to do that tomorrow. So that it's good to hear the same thing happens on that side.
It's good. Yeah. What comes to mind is Clint Eastwood. He goes, a man has got to know his limitations.
Exactly.
And when your brain is done, you're done. I mean, if I got to say, my brain is cooked, but yeah, I will have eggs instead of oatmeal in the morning. I mean, that's one thing, because there's no harm, no foul, big deal. But if somebody's asking me a question where there's money involved, or it's more than $1 or whatever,
right,
you just got to know your parameters. That's it.
Well, and at the same time, I know that there's a number of people who are listening who feel like, because I felt this, where there are times where it's like, I'm not being productive right now, and there's more hours in today, so I should be doing more. But there comes this point where it's just like, yes, I know decisions need to be made, action needs to be taken, but I'm kind of done, and I can't be. I'm not giving my best self, and that becomes a disservice to the company, to the business, to our employees, customers, etc. And I just wanted to put that out there.
That's a really hard thing, by the way, that I personally needed help with. My coach Melanie helped me with that.
Got it.
When I am a worker bee, I'm 58, so I'm a generation. You go to friggin' work, right? I'm not a microwave success type of person. But there's a point where you're sitting at your desk and nothing's happening, but you feel guilty about pushing away from your desk. And she told me several years ago, this was in August, I believe, and I told her, man, I'm just so overwhelmed and blah. She goes, well, take a day or two. I said, I can't. She says, I want you to take at least the next 2 days off.
What?
And yeah, and she said,
wow,
what would you do? And I said, well, I've always wanted to go to Eagles training camp, and that's happening now, but I never. She said, go to Eagles training camp, but I got a couple interviews tomorrow. She says, cancel them if you're sick. Anyway, I went to Eagles training camp. I felt guilty as crap driving up there about an hour. I enjoyed myself, but I was still thinking a little bit. In fact, I shot a video just so I could say, well, I did something. So I shot a video. You can see it.
Yes.
Lessons from Eagles training camp.
Nice.
And when I came back, I was refreshed, and I guarantee you that I was more productive than if I just chained myself to my desk, because winners never quit, right? So there is a point where you need to refresh. Like when I do my event, I take the entire next week off, because it is such a drain mentally to be on. And I mean, when it's your event, you're on from the minute you walk in the hotel and somebody could see you, talk to you, whatever, from the time you're doing 3 days to the time you're still at the hotel and you run into people, you're smiling, being attentive, listening to them, and not daydreaming. You're on. But then what I haven't figured out how to do, Jay, is I don't know how to show up to my own event rested, because there's so many details.
Right.
I mean, it's a 6-month process, but at the last 30 to 60 days are intense. preparation and stuff like that. So I actually show up and just basically run on adrenaline. But I could never do a coaching call or an interview to save my life when that event is over on the weekend. I'm dead. And I just go away, or I sit somewhere. Or my wife and I spent a few extra days in Florida. We just drove around because, the worst decision I had is, do you want seafood or barbecue? That was about it.
Well, you're still it's just another one of those decisions that I know I've had to come to. So, and I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that it's okay, that it doesn't mean you're not being productive. I mean, most people, in fact, many of them don't know, but typically on Fridays from 1 to 4 p.m., you can't find me. You just can't find me. I don't do anything. And even if all I do, because what I often end up doing is watching either comedy shows or what is it, America's Got Talent on YouTube. Yeah. That time period, because it's just funny. I don't know. It has no value whatsoever, other than the fact that it has no value somehow allows me
to that. Right. And, I'm the same way, Jay. So I'm not a big TV watcher. In fact, my kids are like, do you watch Walking Dead or this, that? I've not seen any of these shows. But occasionally what I will do at night, especially on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I will watch an old episode of MASH.
Nice.
Or I'll watch Home Improvement. Or some show from the 70s or 80s, which, first of all, it's semi-wholesome,
Right.
And it's just like, I've seen it 100 times, but I can look at the screen, I'll still laugh, but I'm not thinking about anything because I truly am watching TV to vegetate. That part of watching TV is prescribed for me. Like I say, if I'm in go mode or something, I don't turn on the TV. I know the value of my time, but there is a period where I got to sit in my chair and watch Hawkeye and Trapper pull one over on Frank, and I still friggin' laugh.
Well, and it's just one of so many decisions are required in order to be successful. And so many times when someone is talking about decisions, and when they realize that we were going to be talking about decisions, they're probably thinking about things other than, one of the decisions you've got to make is you've got to intentionally make a decision to rest. Otherwise, you might die earlier than you want to. Now, other than the rest, I'm actually now curious for my own edification. Are there any other types of decisions that you have found that have been transformational, not only for you, but for also maybe some of the other people that you've worked with in the past?
So decisions that are transformational?
Yeah, just like one decision that would maybe be counterintuitive, because a lot of people wouldn't think that one of the decisions that you got to make is, I got to make a conscious decision to rest. Are there any other decisions that you think entrepreneurs should be making that are counterintuitive,
yes,
that they might not have done?
Yep. So first of all, I mentioned earlier, you have to understand the value of your time. So I schedule myself off on Monday and Friday. Now, in the winter, I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm currently still cold in the winter. So you'll find me usually at work, but I have no interruptions. I could be writing a book or doing something else, and I know that it's just good. Or if Stephanie says, hey, we haven't been up to Rhode Island to see our grandkids, let's leave first thing Friday morning, I can do that. I don't have to reschedule anything. But the other thing that goes in my calendar is I take an hour off for lunch. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I plug in the times. I'm working with a trainer right now because I think you asked me a question earlier. I was going to mention this. There are things that you don't do. Like, I know I should exercise, but I suck at it. So I invested in a personal trainer to get healthy and in shape. So that is scheduled. I schedule all the things that are important to me in my schedule. And if they're scheduled in that block, then that means nobody can schedule me for an interview or a time. So you have, if you're going to expect people to respect you and your schedule, you've got to respect yourself as well. And all the things that make us healthy and overall a good person is, rest and recharge and doing all the things other than working. It's very important. So know the value of your time and honor your commitments to yourself.
Well, here's what I will say. I definitely appreciate the commitment that you made it for, your family, your girls, so that they could have something. But now I feel like, it's well beyond that. You're helping so many other people. And I definitely appreciate the fact that now, you've gotten books written in 60 days now. So that's pretty amazing. And I appreciate you taking on the topic of decisions. And most importantly, sharing that here with us today. Now, if someone wanted to grab a copy or understand more about your new book, Decide, what's going to be the best way for them to do that?
Well, here's what I want to do. I totally love your show. Thanks for having me back on. Yeah. I would love to give everybody that's listening a free copy of my book. And I'm not talking about a downloadable PDF. I will mail you, I think it's about a 184-page paperback book. I'll mail you a copy. We'll mail it out within 24 hours. If you go to decideforsuccessbook.com, decide, F-O-R, successbook.com. The only thing I'll ask is you pay $6.95 for shipping and handling. I'll even ship it overseas. I think we shipped one to Finland for like $28. So don't want to hold there, but it's easy. At this point, like you said, it's I just want to start sharing and helping other people, benefit from my horrible youth and mind and stuff like that. Let you know you're not alone. So if they go to decideforsuccessbook.com, I will send them a copy of my book for free.
Excellent. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to share with us, like I said, here today. Now, one final question, if you will. Let's pretend that someone is, they're on that fence. They think they want to be that entrepreneur. They're standing in front of the superhero outfit store, but they can't quite get themselves to jump. My question to you is, let's pretend that they're actually going to go out there and do the work. They're going to not only do the work, but they're going to follow through on what you suggest that they do. What would you say that they should spend their next 24 to 48 hours doing?
So they've already decided, or they're sort of on the fence?
They keep flirting with the idea. They keep reading the blogs. They keep thinking about it every time they get upset with their boss.
You know why they're on the fence, Jay? I got it. You know why they're on the fence? Yeah. Because they're playing the mind game called "What if."
Yep.
And what if this doesn't work? What if I waste money? What if I spend money I don't have? What if I charge this and it doesn't come back? What if I do launch this and people read it and they point out my dangling participle? What if? Now. There's a I forget who said it, but I can't give credit, but it says you can't create a new beginning, but starting today, you can create a new ending. Nice. And one of the ways you do that is to stop playing the what if game. Now, I want to give you, I've fixed a lot of my mindset, but when Stephanie and I were talking about selling our home, buying a boat, probably the least reasonable investment you could make, because it's not an investment at all, but traveling around, living and working on this boat, we decided to do it. And then we started playing the what if game. Well, what if I can't drive a 50-foot boat? What if I hit somebody? What if I run into the gas dock and embarrass myself? What if the boat sinks? What if we catch on fire? What if? And then I read this book, and the gentleman, it was about boating. But I thought there was a great entrepreneurial lesson. He said, you know why more people don't live aboard a boat? Because they play the what if game. What if I run aground? And all the things I just said. He says, yeah, but what if you do say yes? And every day you come up with a challenge or a problem and you overcome it, you solve it, you fix it, and you find out you're actually a badass boat driver and you have the adventure of a lifetime, but you won't know unless you say yes. Just say yes. And so if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, or you're thinking about up-leveling your game or doing something, make an investment, you're playing the what if game, what if all that stuff doesn't happen? What if you just say yes and you actually find out you are a badass entrepreneur and you have the adventure of a lifetime? And Jay, in my answer, I just shared with you the title of my 7th book, which will be out May 15th, Just Say Yes.
I love it. I love it. I definitely appreciate your time, your attention, and thank you for sharing with us one more time here at the Cashflow Diary.
Love your show, Jay. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? Decideforsuccessbook.com. Hey, and even if there is a dangling participle in this one, there's great value. So go get it. Make it happen. Do it now. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.